I Spy is the name of an old TV series you may remember. With all the straws in the wind now about a new U.S. approach toward Iran, a former spy's experiences in that country may be just what our new administration needs to hear. Our cover story is reported now by Kimberly Dozier.
Where do old spies go to retire?
Come on.
This one came to Berkeley, California.
Good ball, Max.
For 21 years, Robert Baer was one of the CIA's top undercover agents. In fact, so was his wife, Dana.
I'm having trouble picturing you both were spies.
We met in Sarajevo. We were doing counterterrorism.
While Bob did the spying, Dana was his shooter, watching over him with a loaded gun in case of trouble.
I supported some of the things that he was doing.
Now, what does that mean? He says you were a shooter.
Yeah.
I probably can't say.
They left the CIA more than a decade ago, trading the car chases and shootouts for domestic bliss, California style. Last year, they adopted a little girl from their old stomping grounds in Pakistan. They named her Khyber. Should be enough, right? Not quite yet. Bob Baer is still a man on a mission. He spent much of his time as a spy in a deadly cat-and-mouse game with Iran. And he decided to put lessons learned into a new book, The Devil We Know. Lessons he hopes the new American president will heed.
Iran is the third rail of international relations. You know, it helped Carter lose his presidency. It almost took Reagan down. It took me 15 years to begin to decode the Middle East, and that's living there constantly. And only then did I start to figure things out.
What he's figured out is the time has come for a radical shift in policy. Iran is too smart and dangerous an adversary, he says, to remain our enemy.
Iran took American hostages. Iran has backed terrorist attacks on American targets. You're saying see them as a constructive force?
Look, I liken this paradigm shift to China. In the end of the 60s, China was going through the Cultural Revolution. Mao Zedong was one of our worst enemies. Yet, Kissinger and Nixon saw the opportunity to change this power around. We sat down and we talked to them and we made a deal, which has worked.
Baer believes Iran is not what it seems on TV. An unpredictable, extremist country driven by religious frenzy. He sees a smart, calculating leadership that presents one face to the world while working through powerful proxies behind the scenes.
This is how you survive. I mean, if you have a job...
He should know. He was trained to do the same thing, living two different lives or more for 2 decades.
I mean, you got to the point where you just lied all the time.
How did you keep the story straight?
Oh, you get very good at it. If you lie from the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed, you get very good at it. And especially if you're doing it for your country.
While attending UC Berkeley in 1976, Baer applied to the CIA on a lark. Before he knew it, he was learning to build bombs.
I can improvise. We can go to the hardware store now, and by noon we can blow up a train. I could show you how to do that.
We could make a bomb before lunchtime and blow up the commuter train.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Yeah, I guarantee you we could. And it would go. I could make sure it'd go off too. No battery failure.
Baer was stationed in India, Bosnia, Lebanon, and Iraq.
I spent time in Iraq in the middle 90s as the chief of station in the north.
You recommended to President Clinton that he should take out Saddam.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I thought the problem in Iraq was Saddam and his sons. They were pathological murderers. This is my pride and joy.
He left the CIA with distinction in 1997, but only after being investigated for murder.
What happened was, because of Iraq, because of trying to kill Saddam, I was investigated, and my entire team, by the FBI. It was miscommunications in Washington because the CIA forgot to tell the White House.
Did you try to kill Saddam?
Within the parameters I was allowed, that's as far as I can say.
So you were accused of murder for trying to kill Saddam Hussein when you were under orders?
Yes, I was under orders, and no laws were violated.
Back in the States, he found coming in from the cold wasn't going to be easy.
It's like when you come back from a trip, you like to sit down with your friends, your slideshows, and say this is what we did. You can't very well sit down with your neighbors and say, oh yeah, we had, my partner got ambushed and shot with a machine gun. You can't.
So he put his stories down in print. And his autobiography became the basis for the 2005 Oscar-winning film, Syriana. Bear's role was played by George Clooney.
You're going to give me the names of every person that's taken.
Bear even had a small part in the film.
Incident. 2 men have been murdered. We've been tasked with the damage assessment.
George Clooney's in the wheelchair, and he's obviously been tortured, and I'm the guy that's looking very serious and saying, I don't really care about, losing your nails. You're in trouble.
Did that ever happen to you?
No, never lost my nails.
Did you ever have to do that to anyone else?
Pull our nails out?
Torture?
No.
My name is Bob Bear. I used to be a CIA agent.
His next project was a series of documentaries tracing the history of the suicide bomber, what Bear calls the most significant weapon of our generation.
Was always car bombs.
Much of it was filmed inside Iran, the country Bear says that started it all. He blames Iran for the deadly 1983 bombings in Lebanon of the U.S. Embassy and the Marine barracks.
Lay down, Marine! Lay down, Marine!
When I was last here more than 25 years ago, Iran was one of the United States' greatest allies in the region. Now it is one of our greatest enemies.
It was while filming the documentary that Bear realized something big was happening.
My social contacts are all in the Middle East, and they told me they're terrified of Iran. Not the Iran we see, but the Iran they see. They see a new Iranian empire.
Bear believes that while removing Saddam Hussein from power was necessary, the Iraq War was bungled.
You're saying the way the U.S. invaded Iraq has been a gift to Iran.
It's been totally a gift to Iran because Saddam and his regime were a dam against Iranian influence. And it was a very effective dam. They fought a war for 8 years, and they stopped the Iranians. And the Iranians were terrified of setting foot in Iraq under the old system.
And now?
And we destroyed that old system, and we opened it up to Iranian influence. And they're going to infiltrate.
And Iran is poised and eager, he says, to spread that influence from Iraq throughout the Middle East.
Iran uses proxies. This is empire by proxy. You get people, it's like communism. You get people to go along with you in your vision of the world. And they're saying, we can finally drive the United States out of the Middle East.
Unless, Bear says, we give President Ahmadinejad and his religious backers what they want.
First of all, they want to be recognized as a major power in the Gulf.
By the United States.
By the United States, by the Europeans. They want to be deferred to on big issues like Iraq and Afghanistan, issues that directly affect them.
But in a sense, wouldn't the U.S., wouldn't Europe be rewarding them for bad behavior?
We would be, but does it matter? We have to be pragmatic about this.
As he revealed in his press conference last Monday, President Obama seems to be considering his options.
My national security team is currently reviewing our existing Iran policy, looking at areas where we can have constructive dialogue, where we can directly engage with them.
If we don't negotiate, Bear worries, the United States may find itself in yet another war we can't afford to fight.
And do we really want to take down the most powerful country in the Middle East? I mean, we've just taken down Iraq, the second most powerful country, and it hasn't done a bit of good for anybody in the region.
It's a mess.
It's a mess, and it's going to remain a mess. Let's talk them back into the game of nations.
It's a provocative idea from a man who's led a provocative life, one who knows how dangerous the world can be from the inside out and is still trying to change it.
Hey, Copper.
She doesn't want your hand now that she knows.